Welcome to Trans Education 101. This video is to educate and assist parents of trans kids, but can also be used to educate about trans beings in general. Some triggering topics such as suicide and depression, gender dysphoria, and general transphobia may and will occur. For basic trans education, it must be known that trans beings are not mentally ill for being trans. Some beings may realize they are trans at a very young age or much later in life. Some have gender dysphoria, which is the deep feeling that they know that they were born and or raised in the wrong way from which they feel they should have been. Some beings may be trans girls, trans boys, or non-binary, meaning that they are neither, both, or some of other gender. There is a wide array of genders, and very many exist, and it's important to respect and accommodate to them no matter what. The only difference with being trans and cis is that trans beings just aren't what they were assigned at birth. Trans medical help is very important to a lot of trans beings. If a kid is questioning their gender, it's recommended that they have puberty blockers until they can be confident in their gender identity. If a kid realizes they are trans and wish to have hormone replacement therapy, HRT, they should get them as soon as possible to try to avoid depression and negative feelings. Puberty blockers do not hurt kids, they just delay puberty until the kid wishes to get off of them or wishes to get HRT to get the right hormones instead of the ones that they would have gotten. If a kid wishes to undergo bottom or top surgery, bottom being the pelvic area and top being the chest area, or other surgeries, they should be able to get them as soon as possible too. Denying trans kids or trans beings of any age from getting HRT or surgeries could end up in developing or more depression and suicidal thoughts or acts. Safety physically and mentally is most important. Every case can be different for every trans being, so talking and understanding is the most important objective. In society as a whole, transphobia is very prevalent and should be dealt with. Lots of jokes and words exist that should be avoided if you wish to be an ally. I'm going to list off a few actions, bigoted jokes, and other transphobic things. Transphobic actions would be assuming some being's gender without them telling you, misgendering some being after they repeatedly told you their gender, using wrong pronouns after being constantly told those pronouns, and insisting that some being would be better before transitioning. There are lots of transphobic jokes that exist and some that you may not realize. Transphobic jokes would be some being a man or a woman based on looks or voice. Also, assuming genitalia based on looks and voice is transphobic. What this does is that there's a lot of trans trauma, harassment, and experiences that go with this. So while you may not think you're being transphobic, those jokes are extremely transphobic. When it comes to questioning trans beings, you should avoid these. Why did you become trans? Why would you ruin your genitals? Why? You look so beautiful, handsome before. What, are you gay now? What's your real name? Have you had the surgery? Questions like those are very invasive. No being becomes trans. They are trans to begin with. They are not ruining their genitals when they get surgery. They do not transition for the sake of you. Just because they are trans does not mean that their sexuality changes or that their sexuality is different. Those are as a separate thing from that. Their real name is what they want to be called. And asking about the surgery is extremely invasive without consent beforehand. When complimenting, there may be miscompliments that end up being hurtful in the end. Some would be, "You're trans? You look so pretty though. You sound like a real woman. I'd date them even if they're trans. You pass so good as a man. You have a great voice for being trans. You're so brave." With these, there is a general thing of like trying to think, there is a general basis of being trans is bad or you're ugly if you're trans. not true at all. And when it comes to voice, you do not insult the voice because training is very different. Right now, I've trained my voice to be like this to some degree when I'm doing videos. When it comes to "you're so brave," that may sound like a compliment, but at the same time, trans beings exist as we are. Yes, a lot of us are brave, but it's a thing of we're just trying to live and be ourselves. So we don't really accept those kind of compliments, or at least when they are compliments, they seem kind of patronizing. But anyway, there's a wide variety of transphobia that should be known about, and well-intentioned compliments can be transphobic too. When it comes to being supportive, there are many ways to be supportive of trans beings. Listening to trans beings is the first and most important way to be supportive. Calling out transphobia is extremely important because it shows that you are fighting for trans beings and also showing us that you really care that much. Don't just call out transphobic actions when there's a trans being around. When we're not around, that means even more, because you're not doing it for the sake of, oh, look at me, I'm such an ally. Donating to organizations dedicated to helping trans beings be accepted or getting them financial, medical, or housing assistance is really important too. Use their pronouns they tell you and use correct gender affirmations. This is the most basic one, but it's still very important. If you misgender or mess up pronouns, correct yourself, and don't make a big deal about correcting. Now, if you're a parent of a trans kid or you're a friend to trans beings, get them what they need if they need it. If they need a wig, get one for them. If they need clothes, get the ones they want. If they need to talk about issues, listen to them. If they need HRT or surgery, assist best as possible. Show that you care by affirming them every chance you get. Above all else, respect their wishes and requests. If you are the parent of a trans kid, specifically, be supportive of your kid as best as you can. It may be hard to adjust to at first, but everything takes time. When you are affirming them, don't go overboard. If they tell you to tone it back, tone it back. Some financial and familial situations may be hard, but still, in those situations, be as respectful as possible. Some kids aren't as fortunate to have supportive parents, so when you're making a great impact on society. That'll do it for this, and I hope that this has educated you in any way. Even though I am trans, I can't explain the best in video form, so in the description are links to organizations that can explain things better than me. Thank you for watching. If you are trans yourself and you would like to educate other beings, share this video to them. And, yeah.